رمضان يا رمضان رمضان يا رمضان رمضان يا رمضان رمضان يا رمضان.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Welcome to In the Light of the Quran. We do an overview of the recitation for the 23rd night of Ramadan, covering Juz 27 of the Holy Quran. There are 7 chapters in Juz 27, and it begins with the concluding portion of Surah Al-Dhariyat, the winds that scatter. Here we find reference to glad tidings to Abraham, peace be upon him, and lessons in the stories of Fir'aun. Also, exhortation to us to take note of the consequences of the behavior, the belief, the practices, and the attitudes of the people of Ad and Thamud. We are reminded that human beings have been created for the primary purpose of ibadah. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. And though the term ibadah is usually translated as worship, which in turn is assumed to be ritual religious acts, in reality, ibadah refers to much more than just ritual acts. It rather refers to the expression of the will to obey the Creator, and it encompasses far more than ritual acts of worship. Ibadah thus refers to all actions which are done in obedience to Allah, in other words, fi ta'atillah, encompassing all good and beneficial deeds, a'malu salih or amalu salihat, deeds which are done sincerely, ikhlas an-niyyah, sincerity of intention, and ihsan, done with propriety and a good consciousness. So it must be done in obedience to Allah, encompassing good and beneficial deeds, done sincerely and with propriety. If any action has all of these dimensions, it's considered an ibadah. Maulana Altaf Hussain Hali in his Musaddas says, यही है इबादत, यही दीन और ईमान कि दुनिया में काम आए इंसान के इंसान. He's trying to give the social dimension of ibadah here when he says, this is ibadah, this is deen, and this is expression of our faith, that in the world human beings be of benefit to other human beings. We are reminded in the surah that human beings are divided into 3 groups: the believers, those who refuse to believe, and those who are hypocritical. And each will be rewarded accordingly. The question that we need to ask, and we have to introspect as we evaluate ourselves: which group are we in, and which group would you want to be in? We are also told that the hearts soften to Allah's remembrance, and those who are sincere and genuine yield to softness of heart. Allah, who built the heavens and spread out the earth, has assigned Prophet Muhammad to be a warner to humankind, a warner and a messenger, as many have been before him. The next surah, the 52nd chapter in the chronological order of the Holy Quran, is At-Tur, the Mount. Allah begins by swearing an oath by Mount Sinai and the undeniable realities and signs which testify to the hereafter. It has been stated most emphatically that it will surely come to pass, and none has the power to prevent the occurrence of the day of accountability. Those who oppose the divine and the reality of accountability are using the same kind of logic that they use to justify worshipping idols. How sound could such logic be? There is also a logical response to some of the objections of the detractors of faith, and a criticism of some of their open errors in thinking and perception. We are reminded that life continues unfolding, and people believe and do as they deem fit, but each one must be aware of eventual accountability to Allah. Surah An-Najm, the star, is consisting of 4 primary discourses. 1, we are reminded that what the Prophet conveys is not mere whim, but rather divine revelation. Unlike the beliefs of his detractors, which was the worshipping of gods which they themselves created, and misconstruing of angels as offspring or daughters of God. 2. Allah is sovereign of the entire universe. The final judgment will not depend on what you consider yourself to be, on the tall claims you make of your purity and your chastity, but whether you are pious or impious, righteous or unrighteous in the sight of God. That will determine your position in the hereafter. Piety, righteousness, and goodness is what brings us to paradise. Third discourse is about the basic principles of religion, which is presented throughout history and in this revelation of the Quran. It was presented by prophets in the past, in the books of Abraham and Moses, and once again captured in essence in the Holy Quran. And the fourth discourse, we are reminded, do not claim piety for yourselves. Only Allah knows those who are God-fearing and those who are pious. No soul shall bear the burden of another. There shall be nothing for a person except what he or she strives for. Surah Al-Qamar, the moon. Here reference is made to the day of judgment, which is drawing near, yet people are not paying heed to the signs of Allah. The Quran has been made easy to understand. Is there anyone who would take admonition? This declaration is repeated several times in the surah. Reference to the stories of Thamud and Lut, who called their prophets liars. And despite the clear warnings and signs, people of Fir'aun were seized for disbelieving Allah's warnings, like with so many who oppose the prophets. The same warning is with us. Will we not take admonition? The next surah, Surah Ar-Rahman, a very popular surah. Some say it refers to Al-Arus al-Quran, the bride of the Quran, the most gracious, Ar-Rahman. This rhythmic, melodic chapter, titled after the most pervasive attribute of the divine, Ar-Rahman, the All-Merciful. In this chapter, Allah refers to the majesty of His creation and highlights many of Allah's blessings in the world. Allah also describes the real end of the world and paints a magnificent picture of paradise. Surah Ar-Rahman is characterized by the refrain, فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ, which of your favors of the Lord can you deny? And this refrain is repeated 31 times in this chapter of the Holy Quran. Surah Al-Waqi'ah makes reference to the inevitable event of Qiyamah, when humankind will be divided into 3 groups. There will be reward for the foremost group, a reward for the right-hand group, and punishment for the left-hand group, as well as the consequence of aligning to each of these. Reflect on the complexity yet beauty of human reproduction and the wonderful process of the water cycle. All of these are reflections of nature, the will of Allah in operation. There's also a testimony of Allah about the veracity of the Holy Quran. The final chapter in the 27th juz of the Quran is Al-Hadid, the iron. This Medinan surah was revealed sometime after the Battle of Uhud and before the truce of Hudaybiyah. This was a time when the tiny Islamic state of Medina had been hemmed in by the disbelievers, and the handful of ill-equipped Muslims were entrenched against the combined power of the entire Arabia. All that is in the heavens and earth glorifies Allah. So too those who are righteous and believers. The generosity of the generous will witness the bounty of the divine. We're reminded to treat the gains and losses of this world in proper perspective. Do not overgrieve for the things that you miss, nor overjoy the things that you have gained. All of these are temporary. Prophet Nuh, Ibrahim, Isa, peace be upon all of them, were sent to guide humankind to the right way. And among the primary objectives of the mission of all of these prophets is the manifestation of justice. Follow the way of the prophets, but do not deny yourselves the bounties of this life. For monasticism is not commanded by Allah, but has been instituted by people themselves. Do what is right, follow the way of the prophets, and be manifestors of justice in every dimension of your life. شكرا، والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته.
رمضان يا رمضان، رمضان يا رمضان، رمضان